The alarm rang through the Galactic Council headquarters at exactly 3 in the morning. Director Vex Thara woke up instantly, her 4 eyes blinking in the darkness. She was a Zenthari, tall and thin with blue skin that glowed slightly in the dark. She had worked for the Council Intelligence Division for 20 years. Nothing scared her anymore, but tonight, something in her chest felt tight. She walked to her office and turned on the main screen. A distress signal blinked red on the display. It came from the outer rim of the galaxy, far from any major planets. The signal was automated. That meant no one was alive to send it manually. The ship's name appeared on the screen. The Resolute, a human vessel. Vex Thara sighed and sat down. Humans were new to the galaxy. They joined the Galactic Council only 15 years ago. They were strange creatures. They looked soft and weak compared to most species. They had no claws, no thick skin, no natural weapons. But they built strong ships and kept to themselves mostly. They traded fairly and followed the rules. Still, they were emotional. They overreacted to small things. She pulled up the report. The Resolute had responded to a distress call from a civilian convoy. The convoy was carrying supplies and families to a new colony world. Pirates had attacked them. This happened sometimes in the Outer Rim. Space was big, and the Council couldn't protect everyone. The Resolute went to help, but then its signal went dark. That was 6 hours ago. Vex Thara marked the report as low priority. Probably the human ship got damaged in a fight with the pirates. Or maybe they were chasing the pirates and forgot to keep their beacon on. Humans did things like that. They got focused on one task and ignored everything else. She would send a patrol ship to check on them in a few days. She was about to go back to sleep when another message came through. This one was marked urgent. It came from a merchant captain named Relic. He was a Vorgash, a small species that looked like walking fish. They were good traders but cowards in a fight. Relic had escaped the pirate attack. He was screaming into his communicator, his voice high and panicked. Vex Thara played the recording. Relic's face appeared on the screen. His scales were pale with fear. His eyes were wide. "They killed them all," Relic said, his voice shaking. "The pirates. They didn't just rob the convoy. They went through every ship. They found all the humans. Men, women, children. They pulled them out and put them in front of cameras. Then they shot them. One by one. They made the rest of us watch." Vex Thara felt something cold move down her spine. This was different. Pirates usually wanted money or supplies. They didn't waste time killing prisoners. That made no sense. Relic continued. "The humans begged. They offered money. They offered anything." The pirate leader just laughed. He said humans were weak. He said they didn't belong in space. Then he killed a child, a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old. He shot her while her parents watched. The recording showed Relic starting to cry. Tears ran down his scales. The human ship came about an hour later. The Resolute. It was alone, just one ship. The captain sent a message to the pirates. He asked them to surrender. He said he would take them to council justice if they gave up peacefully. Vex Thara leaned forward. She knew what came next would be important. "The pirate leader laughed again," Relic said. "He sent the Resolute the footage. All of it. The executions, the bodies floating in space, everything. Then he told the human captain to run away or die. The human captain said nothing. The transmission just cut off. That was when I ran. I took my ship and I jumped to faster than light speed. I didn't look back." The recording ended. Vex Thara sat in silence for a long moment. She pulled up her sensor network. The Council had monitoring stations all over the galaxy. They tracked ships, watched for threats, recorded data. She searched for the Resolute. There, the ship was moving. It was heading toward Carthon Station. Vex Thara felt her blood go cold. Carthon Station was the biggest pirate base in this part of the galaxy. Thousands of criminals lived there. It had defense systems that could fight off entire fleets. The Council had tried to destroy it 3 times and failed every time. The Resolute was moving fast, faster than it should be able to go. The speed reading had to be wrong. Nothing that size could move that quickly without tearing itself apart. Vexthara sent a message to the Resolute. Human vessel, this is Galactic Council intelligence. Please respond. Do not approach Carthon Station. It is heavily defended. You will be destroyed. No response. The ship kept moving. She sent another message. Resolute, please acknowledge. We can send a peacekeeping fleet to help you. Do not engage alone. Still nothing. The ship was now 12 hours away from Carthon Station. Vexthara called an emergency council meeting. Within an hour, representatives from 15 species filled the chamber. They appeared as holograms, some angry at being woken up, others curious. Vexthara explained the situation. She showed them the footage from Relic. She showed them the Resolute's course. She explained that one human warship was about to attack the most dangerous pirate base in the sector. Most of the council members laughed. A Krygesh general with thick armor and sharp teeth shook his head. Let them go. The humans will learn an important lesson about their place in the galaxy. Maybe they will be more careful next time. A Yalthine counselor, who looked like a floating jellyfish made of light, spoke softly. Should we not help them? They are part of the council now. We should send ships. The Krygesh general snorted. Why waste resources? The humans chose to attack alone. They ignored warnings. They made their choice. Others agreed, but a few spoke in favor of helping. The argument went on for an hour. Finally, they took a vote. The decision was to watch and wait. They would monitor the situation. If the Resolute somehow survived the first attack, they would send help. But no one thought that would happen. Vexthara returned to her office. She pulled up the sensor feeds and pointed them all at Carthon Station. Other species came to watch too. Scientists, military officers, politicians. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when a human warship faced impossible odds. On the screen, 42 pirate ships gathered around Carthon Station. They were ready. They were armed with the best weapons stolen from 100 different species. They had shields and armor. They had experience. They had numbers. The Resolute was still 12 hours away. It came alone through the darkness of space. One ship against an army. Vexthara watched and waited. Part of her hoped the humans would turn back, but she knew they wouldn't. She had seen something in the human captain's silence, something that made her afraid. Not afraid of the humans, afraid for the pirates. Because the humans weren't coming to negotiate. They weren't coming to arrest anyone. They weren't coming for justice. They were coming for revenge. The Resolute dropped out of faster-than-light travel at exactly 0600 hours. It appeared at the edge of Carthon Station space like a ghost stepping out of fog. Every sensor in the sector locked onto it immediately. The pirate fleet moved into position. 42 ships against one. The pirates liked those numbers. Inside Carthon Station's command center, the pirate lord Drakmor watched the human ship on his screens. He was a Krygesh, built like a walking tank with thick gray skin and arms that could crush steel. He had raided ships for 30 years. He had killed thousands. He feared nothing. One ship, he said laughing. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. The humans send one ship. Are they stupid or do they want to die? His second officer, a thin Varith with 6 arms and red eyes, checked the scanner readings. The ship is powering down, my lord. Its weapons are cold. Its shields are off. I think they want to surrender. Drakmor smiled, showing teeth like broken glass. No, they want to talk. They always want to talk. Humans love words. He opened a communication channel. Human ship, this is Lord Drakmor of Carthon Station. You are surrounded. You are outgunned. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. We will take your crew as prisoners. Maybe we will ransom you back to your people. If you cooperate, you live. If you fight, you die. Silence. The Resolute floated in space, dark and quiet. It looked small compared to the pirate fleet. Its hull was gray and plain. It had none of the bright colors or decorations that other species put on their ships. It looked boring. It looked weak. Drakmor waited 30 seconds. No response came. He growled, "Human ship, respond now or I will destroy you." Still nothing. Just silence and the soft beep of sensors tracking the Resolute. The ship didn't move. It didn't power up. It just sat there in the darkness. "Foolish," Drakmor said. He turned to his fleet commander. "Send 6 ships. Disable their engines. Bring the ship here. I want to see these humans who think they can attack my station." 6 pirate vessels broke formation and moved toward the Resolute. They were different sizes and different types. Pirates used whatever ships they could steal or buy. These 6 were all armed with plasma cannons and missile pods. They spread out as they approached, surrounding the human ship from all sides. On the Council observation station, Vexthara watched with her team. 20 analysts sat at their stations, recording everything. Military experts from 5 different species stood behind them, analyzing the human ship's design. "Still no power readings," one analyst said. "The ship is practically dead in space." "Maybe they had engine failure," another suggested. "Maybe they came here and realized they made a mistake." Vexthara said nothing. She watched the screen and felt that tight feeling in her chest again. Something was wrong. Something was about to happen. The 6 pirate ships closed to within 1,000 meters of the Resolute. They locked targeting systems onto the human vessel. The lead pirate ship charged its weapons. Energy readings spiked on every sensor. Then the Resolute woke up. Its engines flared bright white, so bright that sensors across the sector went temporarily blind from the light. The ship moved. Not slowly, not carefully. It exploded forward like a bullet from a gun. In less than 3 seconds, it went from a dead stop to speeds that made Vexthara's analysts gasp and check their instruments. "That's impossible," someone whispered. "Nothing accelerates that fast." The Resolute didn't just move forward. It spun, rolled, and twisted through space like a living thing. Weapons ports opened along its hull. They weren't the smooth energy weapons that most species used. They were crude-looking metal barrels, railguns, primitive kinetic weapons that most species had stopped using centuries ago. The railguns fired. Solid metal slugs shot out at incredible speeds. They moved so fast they glowed from friction with space dust. The first pirate ship exploded instantly. The slug punched through its shields like they weren't there, tore through the hull from front to back, and kept going. The ship broke into pieces. The second pirate ship tried to turn, too slow. Another railgun slug hit it in the engine section. The ship's reactor went critical and detonated in a ball of white fire. The remaining 4 pirate ships scattered, firing their plasma cannons wildly. Green bolts of superheated energy crossed the darkness and hit the Resolute's hull. Direct hits. Dozens of them. Enough energy to melt through any normal ship's armor. The Resolute didn't even slow down. Its hull glowed white-hot where the plasma hit it. Metal melted and dripped away into space. But underneath the melted outer layer, the ship's armor held. It absorbed the damage and kept moving. 2 more pirate ships died in the next 10 seconds. The Resolute moved between them so fast it was almost a blur. Railguns fired. Missiles launched from pods along the ship's sides. Not the smart guided missiles that most species used. These were simple, fast, and carried massive explosive warheads. They hit their targets and turned ships into debris. The last 2 pirate vessels tried to run. The Resolute chased them. It moved in ways that should have been impossible. It pulled turns that generated G-forces high enough to kill any crew inside. It spun end over end while still firing its weapons with perfect accuracy. On Carthon Station, Drakmor stopped laughing. He stared at his screens in disbelief. 6 ships, gone, in less than a minute. He opened the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, attack formation. Kill that human vessel, now!" The remaining 36 pirate ships surged forward. They came from all directions, firing everything they had. The space around the Resolute lit up with weapons fire. Plasma, lasers, missiles, even old-style explosive shells. Everything hit the human ship at once. The Resolute took the hits. Its outer armor burned away layer by layer. Pieces of its hull broke off and tumbled through space. But the ship kept fighting. It moved through the storm of weapons fire like it didn't care, like pain meant nothing to it. Its railguns never stopped firing. Every shot hit a target. Every target died. The human ship focused on the largest vessels first. It killed the heavy cruisers, the ships with the thickest armor and strongest weapons. Then it moved to the medium ships, then the small ones. The pirates began to panic. Ships broke formation. Some tried to run. Others tried to hide behind Carthon Station. The Resolute hunted them. It tracked each ship, calculated its course, and killed it with mechanical precision. There was no mercy, no hesitation, just cold, efficient murder. In the Council Observation Station, analysts ran numbers and checked their instruments over and over. "The G-forces," one scientist said, her voice shaking. "Inside that ship, the crew should be dead. The acceleration alone should have turned them into paste against the walls." A military expert, a Draxian with thick scales and experience in 100 battles, shook his head slowly. "Look at the maneuvers. Those aren't computer-controlled. No artificial intelligence moves like that. That's instinct. That's training. There are living beings controlling that ship." "Then how are they alive?" someone asked. No one had an answer. On the screen, the Resolute killed its 15th ship, then its 20th. The pirate fleet that had seemed so large and powerful now looked small and helpless. Ships exploded one after another. Escape pods launched from dying vessels. The Resolute ignored the pods. It wasn't targeting survivors. It was targeting ships, weapons, threats. Drakmor screamed orders at his remaining fleet. "Circle it! Attack from all sides! It can't kill all of you at once!" But the pirates weren't soldiers. They were criminals. They were used to attacking weak merchant ships and unarmed transports. They weren't ready for this. They weren't ready for a predator that was better at hunting than they were. More ships died. The Resolute's armor was half gone now. Its hull showed bare metal in dozens of places. But its weapons still fired. Its engines still burned. It still moved with that impossible speed and grace. Carthon Station's automated defenses activated. Weapons platforms that ring the station came online. Hundreds of them. They had enough firepower to destroy a fleet. They locked onto the Resolute and opened fire. Laser beams as thick as trees cut through space. Missile swarms launched by the thousands. The Resolute took the hits. Its rear section exploded. One of its engine pods tore away and tumbled into space. But the ship kept coming. It headed straight for the station, accelerating into the storm of weapons fire. Drakmor realized what was happening. The human ship wasn't trying to win a space battle. It was trying to reach the station. It was willing to die if it meant getting close enough to board. "Focus all fire on that ship," Drakmor roared. "Kill it! Kill it now!" The remaining pirate ships and the station's defenses hit the Resolute with everything they had. The human ship was surrounded by explosions. Its shields had failed long ago. Its armor was mostly gone, but somehow, impossibly, it kept moving forward. Then it was through. The Resolute burst through the defensive line, trailing fire and debris. It had lost half its mass. It looked like a corpse flying through space. But it was still alive, still moving, still coming. Drakmor backed away from his command screen. For the first time in his life, he felt something he didn't recognize at first. Then he realized what it was. Fear. The Resolute was no longer trying to fight the pirate fleet. It was heading directly toward the station's docking bay, and nothing was going to stop it. The Council Observation Station was completely silent. 20 analysts sat frozen at their screens. No one spoke. No one moved. They just watched as the Resolute tore through the last line of defense and headed for Carthon Station's docking bay. A young Zenthari analyst named Kira broke the silence. Her voice shook when she spoke. "Director Vexthara, I need to show you something. The numbers, they don't make sense." Vexthara walked over to Kira's station. The young analyst pulled up a screen full of calculations. Graphs showed curves that spiked high and then higher. Numbers scrolled past in red. "What am I looking at?" Vexthara asked. "G-forces," Kira said, "inside the human ship. I've been tracking them since the battle started. Director, when the Resolute accelerated at the beginning, the crew inside experienced 42 Gs. That's 42 times normal gravity. For comparison, most species black out at 6 Gs. At 10 Gs, blood stops flowing to the brain. At 15 Gs, bones start to break." Vexthara stared at the numbers. "Check your instruments. There must be an error." "I did," Kira said. 3 times. There's no error. And it gets worse. When the ship performed that spinning maneuver 10 minutes ago, the G-forces spiked to 63 Gs. For almost 4 seconds. Nothing living can survive that. The crew should be dead. But the ship kept fighting. It kept making precise movements. Someone inside is still controlling it. A Draxian military commander named Thorsk pushed forward. He was old, with scars across his thick scales. He had fought in the sector wars. He knew combat. "Let me see those numbers." Kira showed him. Thorsk studied the data for a long moment. Then he made a sound like a growl mixed with a laugh. "Impossible. This is impossible." "But it happened," Kira said. "It's still happening. Look." She pointed at the live feed. The Resolute was pulling another hard turn. The G-force meter jumped to 48. "How are they alive?" An older scientist pushed through the crowd. Her name was Dr. Yantha. She was a Vorgash, small and wrinkled with age. She had studied alien biology for 60 years. She was one of the galaxy's top experts on how different species worked. "Because they're human," Dr. Yantha said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She walked to the front of the room and pointed at the screen showing the Resolute. "We made a mistake. We all made the same mistake. We looked at humans and saw weak creatures. Soft skin, no natural weapons, no thick armor. We thought they were fragile." "They are fragile," Thorsk said. "I've seen humans. They bruise easily. Their bones break. They're not warriors." Dr. Yantha shook her head. "No, we're fragile. They're not. Let me explain something." She pulled up a hologram of a human body. It rotated slowly in the air. "This is a human. Look at it carefully. What do you see?" "A biped," someone said. 2 arms, 2 legs, standard body plan." "Look deeper," Dr. Yantha said. "Look at the bone density. Human bones are incredibly thick compared to their body size. Much thicker than ours. They need to be because of where humans come from." She pulled up an image of Earth, the human homeworld. "This planet. We all read the reports when humans joined the Council. We saw that their planet had slightly higher gravity than average. We thought it was no big deal, a small difference." "It's only 1.2 times standard gravity," Vexthara said. "Exactly," Dr. Yantha said, "which doesn't sound like much. But humans didn't just visit that gravity, they evolved in it. For millions of years, every cell in their body is built to handle it. And it's not just gravity. Look at this." She pulled up atmospheric data for Earth. "Their air is 21% oxygen. That's incredibly high. Most species breathe air that's 12 to 15% oxygen. That much oxygen should be toxic." "I don't understand what this has to do with the G-forces," Kira said. "Everything," Dr. Yantha said. "Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They chased prey for hours, sometimes days, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. To do that, they needed incredible stamina, strong hearts, efficient lungs, bodies that could take punishment and keep going. Then add the high gravity and oxygen-rich air. Their bodies became incredibly dense and efficient. muscles packed with oxygen, bones like iron, hearts that pump with tremendous force. She pointed at the G-force readings. What kills us at 10 Gs is that our blood stops reaching our brain. Our hearts can't pump hard enough. But human hearts? They're built to pump blood upward against high gravity. They're built to keep working under stress. And their blood carries more oxygen than ours because they evolved breathing that toxic air. The room was silent again. Everyone stared at the human body hologram. Dr. Yantha continued, humans also have something called an inner ear. It helps them balance. It's incredibly sophisticated. They can track movement and orientation better than almost any species. That's why their ship can spin and roll like that. The pilots know exactly where they are at all times. They don't get disoriented. Thorsk was looking at the battle footage again. But 63 Gs, that's still too much. They should be crushed. They probably are being crushed, Dr. Yantha said quietly. Those humans on that ship are likely suffering right now. Broken blood vessels, internal bruising, maybe even fractured bones. But they can survive it, for a while, long enough to finish their mission. Humans have another trait we missed. They have an incredibly high pain tolerance. They can function with injuries that would put other species into shock. Vexthara felt her throat go dry. You're saying they built that ship specifically to use G-forces as a weapon? They built it to move in ways that would kill any crew that tried to follow them. Yes, Dr. Yantha said. And they probably have systems inside to help them survive. Special suits, drugs, technologies we don't know about. But the foundation is their biology. They're not like us. They're not fragile. They evolved on a death world and became death worlders themselves. On the screen, the Resolute smashed through Carthon Station's docking bay doors. It didn't slow down or ask permission. It just rammed straight through like the doors weren't there. Metal shrieked and tore. The ship's front section crumpled from the impact, but it kept going, forcing its way inside the station. Alarms blared throughout Carthon Station. Red lights flashed. Drakmor stood in his command center, watching the human ship force its way into his docking bay. "Seal that section," he screamed. "Pump out the air! Kill them!" His crew rushed to obey. Blast doors slammed shut around the docking bay. Atmosphere vents opened. Air rushed out into space, taking fire and debris with it. The temperature dropped to far below freezing in seconds. No one could survive in there now. Nothing could live without air or heat. The Resolute's remaining engines shut down. The ship went dark. It sat in the docking bay like a dead thing, smoking and broken. Its hull was barely recognizable. Half of it was gone. The other half was scorched black and torn open in a dozen places. Drakmor watched his screens. "Is it dead?" "No power readings," his second officer said. "No heat, no movement. The ship is dead." "And the crew? They must be dead too. We took all the air. The temperature is minus 100 degrees. Nothing survives that." Drakmor felt relief wash over him. The humans were dead. The attack was over. He had lost most of his fleet, but he was alive. The station was still his. He could rebuild. He could... Movement. On the screen showing the docking bay, something moved near the human ship. A section of the hull that was already torn open seemed to move more. Then a piece of metal fell away. A figure emerged from the hole in the ship. It wore a suit of armor. The armor was dark gray and covered in scorch marks and dents. A helmet with a reflective faceplate hid the wearer's face. The figure carried a weapon, a large rifle with a design that looked brutal and simple. The human jumped down from the ship to the docking bay floor. A drop of at least 5 meters. The human landed in a crouch, absorbed the impact, and stood up. Then another human emerged. Then a third, then a fourth. 4 humans in armor, standing in a docking bay with no air and no heat. They should be dead. But they were moving. They were checking their weapons. They were preparing to fight. Drakmor stared at the screen. 4? They sent 4 soldiers? "Yes, my lord. his second officer said. But how are they alive? There's no air. The cold should freeze them solid. They're suits, Thorsk said from the Council observation station. He was watching the same feed. Those aren't normal spacesuits. Look at how thick they are, how much armor they carry. Those suits must have their own air supply, their own heating. They're built for combat, not just survival. Vexthara watched the four humans spread out across the docking bay. They moved with purpose, with confidence. 4 soldiers against a station full of thousands of pirates. The numbers were insane. It should be impossible. But she remembered what Dr. Yantha had said about death worlds, about humans evolving to endure, about bodies built to take damage and keep fighting. And she realized something that made her blood go cold. The humans weren't here to arrest anyone. They weren't here to fight a battle. They were here to hunt. And on that station full of pirates who had murdered children, there were 2,000 pieces of prey. The 4 humans moved through the docking bay in silence. Their boots made no sound in the vacuum. They communicated through their helmets using signals the Council couldn't intercept. They split into 2 pairs and headed for different access doors. Drakmor watched them on his screens. He felt anger replace his fear. Just 4 humans thought they could attack his station. He had over 2,000 fighters on Carthon Station. Pirates, mercenaries, smugglers, all armed, all dangerous. These humans would die quickly. Send security teams to the docking bay, he ordered. 50 fighters, kill those humans. Bring me their bodies. The doors to the docking bay opened. 50 pirates rushed in, wearing combat suits and carrying weapons. They spread out and took cover behind cargo containers and ship parts. They aimed at the humans. The trap was set. One of the human pairs was crossing an open area when the pirates opened fire. Plasma bolts and laser beams filled the docking bay with light. Dozens of shots hit the lead human directly. The armor absorbed some hits. Other shots burned through and hit the human inside. The human stumbled, fell to one knee. The pirates cheered and fired more. But the human didn't die. Instead, the figure raised its rifle and fired back. The sound was different from other weapons. Not a hum or a whoosh. A loud crack that echoed even in the thin air. Kinetic rounds. Bullets made of metal that punched through armor like paper. 3 pirates fell, their suits torn open. The human fired again. 3 more shots, 3 more dead pirates. Then the human stood up despite being shot multiple times and ran for cover. Not a slow limp, a full run, fast and smooth. The second human in the pair was already in cover. This one carried a different weapon. It looked like a thick tube. The human aimed it at a group of pirates hiding behind a cargo container. Fired. A rocket shot out with a trail of fire behind it. The explosion was massive. The cargo container disappeared in flames. So did the 8 pirates hiding behind it. The pirates started to panic. These weren't easy targets. These weren't merchant crew who would surrender. These were soldiers, real soldiers, and they didn't seem to care about being shot. One pirate, braver or more stupid than the others, charged at a human with a blade. He was a Kriegesh like Drakmor, big and strong. His blade could cut through steel. He swung at the human's helmet with all his strength. The blade hit the helmet and cracked the visor. But the human moved with the impact, rolled, and came up with a small weapon in hand. A pistol. The human fired 3 times at point-blank range. The Kriegesh's thick skull shattered. He fell dead. The remaining pirates in the docking bay tried to retreat. The humans didn't let them. They hunted the pirates down, moving with terrible efficiency. Within 5 minutes, all 50 pirates were dead. The humans had taken more hits. Their armor was scorched and torn in new places. But they kept moving. They reached the access doors and attached small devices to the control panels. "They're breaching the inner doors," Drakmor's second officer shouted. "They're going to enter the main station." "Seal the corridors," Drakmor ordered. "Trap them in the access tunnels. Vent the atmosphere. Flood it with plasma. Kill them." The humans breached the doors and entered the station's corridors. Immediately, blast doors slammed shut ahead of them and behind them. They were trapped in a section of corridor about 20 meters long. Atmosphere vents opened. The air rushed out. Then plasma vents activated. Superheated gas filled the corridor, hot enough to melt metal. On the Council observation station, analysts watched in horror. "They're dead now," someone said. "Nothing survives direct plasma exposure." But when the plasma cleared, the four humans were still standing. Their armor glowed red hot. Parts of it had melted and fused together. But the humans inside were alive. One of them reached up and tore away a piece of melted armor from their chest plate. Underneath, the suit was still intact. Dr. Yantha was making notes rapidly. "Incredible! Their armor has layers. The outer layer is meant to ablate, to burn away and carry the heat with it. The inner layers protect the wearer. It's primitive, but effective." The humans attached more devices to the blast doors. Explosives. They took cover inside alcoves. The charges detonated. The blast doors blew inward, torn from their hinges. The humans moved through the smoke before it cleared. More pirates waited on the other side. 100 this time. They had set up defensive positions with heavy weapons. Machine guns that fired thousands of rounds per minute. Plasma cannons. Even an old artillery piece that fired explosive shells. They opened fire the moment the humans appeared. The corridor became hell. Bullets, plasma, and explosions filled every centimeter of space. The humans couldn't advance. For the first time, they were stopped. They pulled back into cover, firing occasionally to keep the pirates from advancing. Drakmore smiled. "Good. We have them trapped. They can't go forward. They can't go back. Keep firing. Eventually their ammunition will run out. Eventually their armor will fail." But the pirates forgot one important thing about humans. They were tool users. They were problem solvers. When they couldn't go forward, they found another way. One of the humans attached a device to the corridor wall. It was a shaped charge, designed to cut through metal. The human activated it and took cover. The explosion cut a large hole in the wall. But instead of another corridor on the other side, there was just empty space, the station's outer hull. The human jumped through the hole, out into open space. The second human followed. They were now outside the station, walking on its outer hull. The Council's cameras tracked them. The two humans activated magnetic boots and walked along the station's surface like spiders on a wall. Inside the station, the pirates kept firing at the empty corridor, not realizing their targets were gone. The other two humans stayed behind and kept firing back, making the pirates think all four were still pinned down. The two humans on the outside of the station walked for about 50 meters. Then they found what they were looking for, an air intake vent. They pulled the cover off and climbed inside. Now they were in the station's ventilation system, behind the pirates, behind the defenses. "My lord," the second officer said, his voice shaking, "we lost track of two of the humans. They're not in the corridor anymore. They're in the ventilation system." Drakmore felt his confidence drain away. "Find them! Track them! Send fighters to all the vent exits." But Carthon Station was huge. It had thousands of vents, hundreds of access points. The pirates couldn't cover them all. The two humans moved through the vents like ghosts. They appeared suddenly behind groups of pirates, killed them, and disappeared again. They used the station's own layout against its defenders. The pirates started shooting at random vents, afraid the humans might emerge anywhere. They shot their own equipment. They hit their own people by accident. Fear spread like a disease through the station. The two humans in the main corridor advanced now that the pirates were distracted. They used grenades to clear the defensive positions. Not the clean, precise explosives that most species used. Heavy, brutal bombs that destroyed everything nearby. They threw them around corners. They threw them through doorways. Explosions shook the station. More pirates died. Some tried to run. The humans let them go at first. Then they would appear later, in a different corridor, and kill the runners there. They were hurting the pirates, driving them toward the center of the station, toward Drakmore's command center. Drakmore realized what was happening. They're coming for me. They want me specifically. He called all his remaining forces back to the command center. Over 300 pirates assembled. They barricaded the corridors. They set up kill zones. This would be the final battle. But then Drakmore had an idea. A terrible idea. But he was desperate. He ordered his crew to bring out the prisoners. Carthon Station held over 100 prisoners, captured merchants, slaves, hostages. His crew dragged them to the corridor leading to the command center and forced them to stand in the middle of the corridor. Living shields. Among the prisoners were some of Drakmore's own crew, low-ranking pirates who had failed him. He didn't care. He put them all together. Then he sent a message on all frequencies. The humans would hear it. "Human soldiers," Drakmore said. "I have prisoners, innocents. If you continue your advance, I will execute them. All of them. Retreat to your ship and leave. You have one chance. I am being generous." The station was silent for a long moment. Then a voice responded. It came from one of the humans. A female voice, cold as ice. "You murdered children. You broadcast their deaths as entertainment. You lost your right to negotiate." Drakmore felt his blood freeze. "If you attack, they die. All of them. Their blood will be on your hands." "Their blood is on yours," the human voice said. "We're coming." The 4 humans attacked from 4 different directions at once. They had been listening to every communication. They had tracked every pirate on the station through thermal sensors and movement detectors. They knew exactly where everyone was. They had been planning this moment. One human came through the ceiling, dropping down with a grappling line. Another came through a maintenance hatch in the floor. The other 2 breached through the walls using shaped charges. They all appeared at exactly the same time, in different locations, surrounding the command center. The battle was chaos. Pirates fired in every direction. The prisoners screamed and ran for cover. Bullets and plasma bolts crossed the air in every direction. And in the middle of it all, 4 humans moved like death itself. They shot with perfect accuracy. They moved to positions where pirates would hit each other with crossfire. They used smoke grenades to blind their enemies while they saw through thermal imaging. Drakmore grabbed his personal weapon and ran for his escape ship. He was done fighting. The station was lost. He needed to run. But when he reached the docking bay where his ship waited, one of the humans was already there, standing between him and escape. The human's armor was barely recognizable now. It was torn, burned, and covered in blood. Some of it was human blood. But the human still stood, still held a weapon. "Please," Drakmore said, hating himself for begging. "Please, I surrender. Take me prisoner. I'll tell you everything. I'll help you." The human said nothing for a moment. Then the helmet speakers activated. The voice was male this time, tired, angry. "You had your chance to surrender. Before, when our captain asked nicely." The human raised his weapon. "This is judgment." Drakmore tried to run. He was fast for his size, but not fast enough. The human's shot was perfect. Carthon Station fell silent. The alarm stopped. The weapons fire ended. The only sounds were the hiss of damaged life support systems and the quiet sobbing of freed prisoners. The 4 humans moved through the corridors one last time, checking every room, making sure no threats remained. They found Drakmore's body near his personal ship and dragged it back to the command center. They activated the station's communication systems. Every screen on the station came to life. Every speaker turned on. The humans wanted everyone to see. One of the humans removed their helmet. She was young, maybe 30 years old. Her face was covered in bruises. Blood dripped from her nose. Her eyes were red from burst blood vessels. The G-forces from their combat flying had damaged her body in dozens of ways, but she was alive. She looked into the camera with cold, tired eyes. "This is Lieutenant Chen of the Resolute," she said. Her voice was rough. "To all prisoners on this station, You are free. Medical teams are coming. You will be returned to your families." She paused. "To all pirates on this station who are still alive, drop your weapons. Sit down where you are. Wait for council peacekeepers. You will face trial for your crimes. If you run, we will find you. If you fight, you will die." She gestured off-screen. Another human dragged Drakmore's body into view and dropped it in front of the camera. "This is what happens to those who harm human civilians. This is what happens to those who murder children. Remember this." The broadcast ended. Lieutenant Chen put her helmet back on and rejoined her team. The four humans made their way back to the Resolute through corridors littered with debris and bodies. 312 pirates dead, 21 wounded and captured, 0 prisoners executed during the battle. The humans had done what seemed impossible. They had fought through an entire station and kept the hostages alive. In the Council Observation Station, Vex Thara watched the humans board their broken ship. She had been recording everything, every moment of the battle, every tactical decision, every impossible feat. She had a duty to report this to the Council, but she wasn't sure what to say. Dr. Yantha stood beside her. The old scientist looked thoughtful. "They're going to leave now. Their ship is barely functional. Half of it is gone, but it will still fly. That's how humans build things. Redundancy, backups, they plan for the worst." She was right. The Resolute's engines flickered to life, weak and damaged, but still working. The ship pulled itself out of the docking bay and turned toward open space. It moved slowly now. No more impossible maneuvers. No more combat speed. Just a wounded ship limping home. But before it left the sector, the Resolute activated its communication systems one more time. It broadcast on every frequency. Every species in the sector would hear this. Every pirate haven, every smuggler port, every criminal hideout. The message was simple. A video appeared showing the bridge of the Resolute. The captain sat in his command chair. He was an older man, maybe 50 years old, gray hair, lines around his eyes. He wore a uniform that was torn and burned. His face was calm, almost gentle. He didn't look like a warrior. He looked like someone's grandfather. But when he spoke, his voice carried weight, authority, certainty. "My name is Captain Walker of the Earth vessel Resolute. I am sending this message to anyone who operates outside galactic law, to pirates, to slavers, to murderers." He paused. 8 days ago, 47 human civilians were executed by pirates. They were killed for entertainment, for propaganda. Among them were 16 children. The youngest was 4 years old. The captain's voice remained calm, but his eyes were hard. "We found those responsible. They chose to fight rather than surrender. They chose to take hostages rather than face justice. They made their choices. Now they face the consequences." The video showed footage from the battle. The Resolute tearing through the pirate fleet, the 4 soldiers fighting through the station, Drakmore's body, the freed prisoners, everything. "This is a warning," Captain Walker continued. "Humanity does not negotiate with those who harm our civilians. We do not forgive. We do not forget. If you kill humans, we will find you. It doesn't matter where you hide. It doesn't matter how many ships you have. It doesn't matter how strong your defenses are. We will come for you." He leaned forward. "You can surrender to us peacefully. You can surrender to council authorities. Those options are always available. But if you make us hunt you, if you force us to dig you out, we will show you why Earth built warships instead of passenger vessels. We will show you what happens when predators decide to stop being peaceful." The captain sat back. "To the rest of the galaxy, humanity seeks peace. We want to trade, to cooperate, to build friendships. But we will protect our own. We will defend the innocent. If that makes us dangerous, then so be it. We would rather be feared by criminals than watch our children die." The broadcast ended. The Resolute continued its slow journey home. Council ships arrived at Carthon Station hours later. They found freed prisoners, captured pirates, and damage beyond description. They found evidence of what 4 humans had done to a station of thousands. The council convened an emergency meeting. The chamber was full. Representatives from every member species attended. They had all seen the footage. They had all watched the battle. Now they had to decide what to do about it. Vex Thara gave her report. She showed the data, the G-force readings, the tactical analysis, the casualty numbers. She explained what Dr. Yantha had discovered about human biology. She tried to be objective, to be fair, but her hands shook when she finished. A Quigesh general stood to speak. He was old, covered in scars from a dozen wars. The humans have revealed themselves. They are apex predators. They are more dangerous than any species we've encountered. We should limit their military, control their shipbuilding. They are a threat to galactic peace. Several species agreed. Murmurs of support echoed through the chamber. But then a Yalthine counselor rose. She was ancient, her light dim with age. Her species had been victims of pirates for centuries. They were small and weak, easy targets, until humans started escorting their trade ships. "I disagree," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. "The humans did not attack us. They did not threaten peaceful species. They hunted those who prey on the weak. For the first time in my long life, Yalthine merchants can travel safely, because human ships patrol the trade routes, because human soldiers respond when we call for help." She gestured at the footage of the battle. "Yes, humans are dangerous. Yes, they are frightening when they fight. But ask yourselves this: would you rather have them as friends or as enemies? Would you rather they use their strength to protect or to conquer?" More counselors spoke. The debate went on for hours. Some wanted to restrict humanity. Others wanted to embrace them. Some were afraid. Others were grateful. Finally, a vote was called. The question was simple. Should the council take action to limit human military capability? The vote failed. Barely, but it failed. Humanity would remain a full member of the council with all rights and responsibilities. They could build ships as they saw fit. They could defend themselves as they chose. But they would also be watched. Carefully. Always. In the aftermath, something changed in the galaxy. Pirate attacks on human ships dropped to almost nothing. When pirates scanned a convoy and saw human escorts, they fled. They remembered the footage. They remembered what happened to Carthon Station. They remembered that humans didn't negotiate. Other species began requesting human security services. Merchant convoys wanted human guards. Colonies wanted human defense systems. Governments wanted human military advisors. Humanity, once seen as weak newcomers, became the galaxy's preferred protectors. The Resolute made it home. Barely. The ship was declared beyond repair and was eventually turned into a memorial. A reminder of what happened when someone pushed humans too far. The 4 soldiers recovered from their injuries. Lieutenant Chen received a medal. So did the others. But they didn't celebrate. They had done what was necessary, nothing more. Captain Walker retired shortly after. He gave one final interview before he left. A reporter asked him if he regretted the violence, if he thought there was another way. Walker thought for a long moment. Those pirates had a choice. Every step of the way they had choices. They chose to attack civilians. They chose to murder children. They chose to fight instead of surrender. They chose to take hostages. We didn't make their choices for them. The reporter pressed. But so many died. Hundreds of pirates. Was it worth it? Walker's eyes grew hard. You want to know if it was worth it? Ask the freed prisoners. Ask the Yalthine merchants who can now feed their families without fear. Ask the next group of pirates who see a human ship and decide to go somewhere else. Ask the next child who doesn't die because someone remembered what we did to those who harm children. He stood to leave. We didn't start this war. We didn't want this war, but we finished it, and we sent a message that will echo across the galaxy for generations. Human civilians are off limits. Human children are untouchable. Anyone who forgets that will learn the same lesson Drakmor learned. The interview ended. The footage spread across human space and beyond. It became part of human culture, part of their identity. They were peaceful traders, yes. Kind neighbors, yes. But cross them, harm their families, and they would show you something older than civilization. Something that evolved in the darkness of Earth's ancient forests. The cold, patient fury of a persistence predator that never, ever stops hunting. Years passed. The galaxy grew more peaceful, at least in sectors where humans operated. New species joined the council. They heard the stories about humans. Some didn't believe them. How could such soft-looking creatures be so dangerous? Then they would see the footage of Carthon Station. They would see 4 humans tear through a fortress. They would see the Resolute flying through impossible G-forces, and they would understand. In the darkness between stars, human warships continued their patrols, watching, waiting, protecting. They hoped never to fight again, but they were ready, always ready, because humans had learned something over millions of years of evolution, something carved into their bones and blood. The best way to ensure peace is to be too dangerous to provoke. The message from the Resolute still played on communication channels throughout the galaxy. A warning, a promise, a reminder. We will find you. We will hunt you. We will show you why we call our ships warships. And the pirates listened, and they stayed away from human space. And the galaxy became a little safer for everyone. Because sometimes the only thing predators fear is a bigger predator. And humanity, born on a death world, raised in crushing gravity, evolved from ancient hunters, had proven that when they needed to be, they were the biggest predators in the galaxy.